Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, and well, you guys have been exploring the Bhagavad Gita, right? And a lot of you wanted to see how it connects with modern science.
It's a fascinating area, yeah. A lot of people assume ancient wisdom and modern science are totally separate, but
Yeah,
there's some pretty amazing parallels.
right. And to help us explore that, we've brought in an expert.
Happy to be here.
So our source today is a lecture by Dr. Purna Prasad. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, fascinating guy. Blends science and spirituality. It's really cool.
He was speaking at the Dupi All India Oriental Conference, and his perspective on the Gita is
Really unique
Yeah.
because of his background,
exactly. He's not looking at it just as a religious text.
but through the lens of science too, yeah.
I love how he starts off. He points out that both the Gita and modern science use a similar four-step approach.
Oh yeah, observation, hypothesis, analysis, conclusion. Like,
It's the same.
yeah, the same investigative process, even though they come
That-
from these completely different worlds.
Like, whoa, hold on. That means there's this fundamental human drive to understand the world, whether it's through spirituality or science.
Definitely.
Okay, so get this. He uses Arjuna's breakdown in the first chapter of the Gita as the observation phase. Remember how Arjuna is totally overwhelmed, doesn't know what to do?
Right.
Dr. Prasad says that's like our own experiences of confusion, or what they call in psychology cognitive dissonance. Conflicting thoughts, beliefs.
Oh, that's brilliant, because it makes the Gita instantly relatable. I mean, who hasn't felt that way?
Right, like these ancient characters, they were dealing with totally human emotions, lost, uncertain.
We've all been there.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Prasad goes on to show how scientific principles are actually woven into the Gita's narrative. For example, when Krishna tells Arjuna not to grieve for the dead.
Yeah, and he connects that to the idea that energy levels in atoms are essentially predestined. So what happens is meant to happen.
Whoa, it's like a whole new way of looking at it.
This ancient wisdom, and it lines up with our modern understanding. It's pretty amazing.
I know. And then there's this other part where Dr. Prasad talks about Krishna urging Arjuna to fight, and he links that to Einstein's quote about balance and cycles in nature.
And then ties it to like physics, force, mass, acceleration.
It's mind-blowing. He even says you can see the essence of the Gita in a quadratic equation. X squared plus bx plus c equals 0.
The variables are like different aspects of life. Karma, free will, destiny.
And just like solving for x, you have to
Navigate these forces.
find balance. It makes you wonder what other connections are hidden there.
Waiting to be discovered, yeah.
So we've got this four-step scientific approach hitting principles. What else does he talk about?
Well, he gets into this big debate in science determinism versus probability.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that even mean?
So think of it like this. Okay, so like imagine flipping a coin.
Okay,
In a deterministic world, like Newtonian physics, you could predict every flip. The force, the weight of the coin, everything.
so heads or tails, no surprises.
Right. But quantum mechanics throws a wrench in that. It says, nope, there's chance involved. You can calculate probabilities, but you can't be certain.
Like the weather.
Exactly. Models, data, but still unpredictable.
Okay, I kind of get it. But how does the Gita fit in?
Dr. Prasad says Vedic science, where the Gita comes from, has a different view. It suggests there are principles that lead to more certainty, beyond just probability.
Deeper principles, not just chance.
Right. It's about seeing how everything is connected, actions and consequences. And he also points out that, well, modern science is pretty young.
400 years compared to
Thousands, yeah, for Vedic science. So there's been more time to,
figure things out.
Yeah.
It makes you think what we might be missing, but how does this connect back to the Gita itself?
well, think about how Krishna guides Arjuna. He's not just being a therapist, he's making Arjuna see things from a higher perspective. Dr. Prasad uses this really cool analogy.
Oh, I love analogies.
Imagine a dot on a page,
Oh.
just a point. But what if you could see it as part of a line going into another dimension?
Whoa.
Suddenly it has more meaning, right? That's what Krishna is doing, helping Arjuna shift his perspective.
See the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that leads to what the Gita calls nishkama karma.
Detachment.
Yeah, detachment from the results of your actions. You
Yep.
focus on doing what you need to do, not getting caught up in what happens after.
Like play the music. Don't worry about the applause.
Perfect example. And that connects to science too. Think about time. In physics, it's relative, right? Past and future are just ideas. The only thing that's real is now.
So the Gita is saying be present, focus on your actions.
Exactly. And this is where Dr. Prasad brings in another point. He talks about the importance of anubhava.
Anuhava. What's that?
It means experiential evidence. Like not just knowing something in your head, but really experiencing it.
Ah, okay.
And he says this is the highest form of scientific understanding. He gives these great examples. Einstein, the theory of relativity. He had this thought experiment riding a beam of light.
Oh, right?
Newton, gravity, from watching an apple fall. Kekulé, the chemist, dreamt of a snake biting its tail. And that helped him figure out the structure of the benzene ring.
It's like these aha moments, realizing something, not just reading about it.
Exactly. And the Gita emphasizes this too, going beyond just thinking about it to really experiencing it. So, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think for me, it's that the Gita, a lot of people see it as just spiritual, right? But it actually has these deep connections to science if you look closely.
Like we were talking about, the dot and the line. It seems like one thing, but when you shift your perspective, there's so much more there, connections to all these other areas of knowledge.
And Dr. Prasad, he really helped us see that. He can bridge those two worlds,
Definitely. He's shown us it's not about choosing sides, like science versus spirituality.
Yeah.
They can actually work together,
So are you saying that to understand the Gita, we have to become physicists or something?
No, not at all. Just be open to seeing it from different angles. And who knows, you might end up thinking about quadratic equations in a whole new way.
Okay, that one still kind of lost me, but I gotta admit, this has been amazing. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of what the Gita has to offer.
That's the best part, right?
Uh-huh.
There's always more to explore. It's a journey.
So, any final thoughts for our listeners?
If the Gita can be seen in a quadratic equation, imagine what other scientific connections are hidden there, right? What else are we missing? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita and its connections to modern science. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.